Rob, it's time for another member talk, and we're going to bring you one of our newest, well, not a new member. He's actually an older member. He's been with us for a while. Brevin Clifford. Hey, Brevin, how's it going?
Good. How are you, Rob?
Wonderful. So, Brevin, Brevin and I have actually known each other for a little while. Brevin and I served together on the WSFDA board, and then he left. He left Washington. I don't know why you would ever do that. Well, I got some good ideas, but tell us a little bit about yourself, Brevin.
Okay. So I'm a licensed funeral director and embalmer. I work for Mueller Funeral Homes, which is in Kennewick, Washington, the southeastern desert part of the state. But I got into funeral service when I was 16 years old. Started working for local funeral homes down in Utah, and I moved up to Washington State in 2011 originally. Worked here for Mueller's, and I moved away, worked in Ogden, came back, and then I worked down in Las Vegas as a location manager for a mortuary down there, and also worked at McDougall Funeral Home there in Taylorsville, where I had actually worked as a 16-year-old back in high school. So, but now I'm back here in Kennewick, assistant manager here at the funeral home. So
Yeah, so you've kind of gone full circle.
Yep, gone full circle. I've got, I guess, 14 years experience altogether, if you include being in high school working for the funeral home. But it's always been my passion and my dream to be in funeral service.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that. What was it? Because I actually myself, I started at age 16 in a local funeral home in the Wenatchee area. Never thought it, never considered being a funeral director. Got the job, frankly, because it was offered, and I didn't want to, it was either that or pushing shopping carts from the parking lot of the grocery store into the store. But boy, I tell you, I got involved with it, fell in love with it. What was it that got you involved in funeral service?
Um, as a young man, I was heavily involved in the scouting program.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was introduced, I did a lot of merit badges and things, and was introduced to a lot of different careers. But one of the big scouters in the area, he owned the funeral home. And I had tossed back and forth whether I wanted to be a surgeon or if I wanted to work in funeral service. And I thought that hearses were really cool, and I wanted to be able to drive a hearse. So I got a hold of the local funeral home, and he knew me through scouting, and he's like, well, why don't you come and work for us? We'll let you drive the limo, let you drive flowers around, and we'll let you drive the hearse every once in a while. And so that's kind of how I got my start, but I fell in love with the business and just how it's so service oriented and focusing on serving the families and working with them through the difficult process.
Yeah. So you got your start there. Where did you attend your mortuary college programs at?
So I went to Arapahoe Community College, which is out of Littleton, Colorado. I actually did that as an online program, and served my apprenticeship concurrently while going to school online. So I was on a 24-hour student and 24-hour intern. So it was good times.
Yeah. That's it. Boy, I tell you, when you start doing that internship and you're in school, that's all you do: eat, breathe, sleep, funeral service, and it either makes you or breaks you for sure.
Yeah, exactly. And it built me up, and it was a good thing for me. I actually got married and was doing homework from mortuary school while I was on my honeymoon, and my wife still loves me, so that's okay.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So you came to Washington. You ended up going back to Utah,
Yep.
then to Las Vegas.
Yep.
That must
Las
have that.
Vegas.
How was that? Well, I was working in Las Vegas. I can't imagine you're on the strip all the time.
No, I work for a funeral home it's on Las Vegas Boulevard,
Hmm.
but it's further north towards North Town, past all the chapels and everything. But one thing I did enjoy about working in Las Vegas is I had the opportunity to serve a more diverse population. We did a lot of Jewish services, a lot of Muslim services. We served a lot of the Islamic sects there as well. And so, I mean, here in Tri-Cities, we have a lot of Christians, we have a lot of Muslims that we serve, but I mean, it was a great opportunity to get involved with more cultures in the bigger city funeral service.
Yeah. Now, Tri-City area, you mentioned, and a lot of us that watch this will know, but that's desert. That's not when you say Washington, that's not the rainforest and rain all the
Nope.
time. That is desert.
It is. Yep, it's sagebrush, and you get tumbleweeds filling up your backyard all the time. So it's
Well,
desert, as desert as it gets.
but with your background, you're kind of used to that. With Las Vegas, same way. Ogden,
Yep,
yeah.
yep. Utah, it's a desert too. So
You're kind
I've
of a
just lived
desert
in the.
guy.
Yep, I'm a desert guy, 100%.
Well, you do something else though. I mean, you're the assistant manager. You got a number of locations there in the Tri-Cities.
Right.
Are you the assistant manager for all of those, or just in one in particular?
So I'm the assistant manager for all of the Mueller funeral homes. So we've got one funeral home here in Kennewick, one in Pasco, and we have a discount cremation center also here in Kennewick. So,
And
and then, so I just am the manager over the funeral homes, but the Muellers actually own 2 cemeteries as well.
okay, so it's kind of full service there.
Yep,
Quite,
yep.
quite a bit. Yeah, good. Are you guys seeing and experiencing many? I know we talked before we started recording this. Your area that you're in, your counties, just moved from a modified phase 1 COVID standing to a phase 2.
Right.
How has that affected what you're doing down in the Tri-Cities? How has COVID affected you guys?
It's affected us quite a bit. At the start of phase 1, we weren't able to have any type of viewing services. It was just direct burial or direct cremation. Right now, we're able to have modified funerals and gravesides with up to 30 people in attendance, which is extremely limited for the population, especially those that want to involve the community and family members. But we are able to serve the community and still have viewings, open caskets again. Our cases are actually way down right now as far as COVID-19 positive cases. But for a long time there, we had quite a few COVID-19, almost a fourth of the business was COVID-19 positive cases.
Wow.
For at least March, April, and June, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah. And working with families of decedents passed away positive,
Mm-hmm.
that's really put a strain. Did you get into the Zoom like we're doing now with arrangements, or how did that work for you guys?
We haven't done any Zoom with families, but we do arrangements over the phone, and our website has 100% of our pricing on there, including the casket pricing. So while we're on the phone, we can say, I'm going to email you a link that has our website in it, and they're able to look at caskets right there from the comfort of their home, select a casket, and we do all the arrangements just basically over speakerphone, and I'm on my end, they're taking notes on that end, and then I just send a follow-up email saying this is what we talked about, just in case
Sure.
you forgot. So
Sure. So is that, that actually leads to another question. Is that something that you've had previous to COVID with the pricing on the website? Because I know that that's a kind of a big topic these days of should we do it? Should we not do it?
so I know at least up till 2020, I mean, the start of this year, we didn't have it on the website. So that is fairly new, putting it on there. But I mean, it just shows the community that we're 100% transparent with our pricing.
Right.
And yeah,
I'm sure they appreciate seeing that, knowing that, that you can go on and compare that. It's for funeral services, sort of a hot topic, hot button topic right now of, you know, there's a very big, yes, you should have your prices listed, and there's a very big, no, you shouldn't. So
right.
it's always interesting to find out from people how that's working for them. And it sounds like it's working well for you guys.
Yeah, it's working well. People are able to compare. The Muellers have been here in the Tri-Cities since 1910, so most everybody knows about the Muellers here in town, but they're able to compare us to other funeral homes and compare our services versus theirs as well. So
Yeah. Let's shift gears a little bit. One of the things that interests me about you and kind of what you do, I don't know if you'd call it extracurricular or part of your job, but you actually sit on the committee for the national board examination.
that's correct. Yep.
Tell us a little bit about that process. First off, how do you get onto a committee like that? And then what is it that you do for that?
Okay. So I was appointed in July of 2016. I was just on Facebook one day and I followed the conference on their webpage, and I saw that they were looking for people to apply to be on the National Board Exam Committee. And it just said you have to be dual licensed, you have to be currently working full-time in funeral service. So I submitted my application, and I waited 2 or 3 months, hadn't heard anything. So I reached out to them. They said, we've got probably 40 applicants right now. We're trying to go through the applications. And then I got an email in July of 2016 saying you've been appointed to the Sciences Committee for National Board Exam. And so from there, we meet twice a year in person and by phone as needed. And one of our meetings is 100% reviewing current questions that are on the National Board Exam. There are multiple forms of the test, and so we review probably over 500 questions in a 3-day period, making sure that content's accurate, and we make sure that it's 100% in the textbooks that the American Board of Funeral Service Education has approved. And we have to align that with the curriculum outline of the American Board of Funeral Service Education so that we know what's on the test is or should be being taught in schools because it's on their curriculum and what they should be teaching. And so we work kind of as checks and balances, but we also write questions for the National Board Exam when there are antiquated questions that just don't apply anymore. We get rid of those and we can put more in. So, and then we have a second meeting that we work 100% on reviewing candidate comments, seeing items that maybe didn't work well as a pre-test question, because in the national board, there are the 150 questions that are graded, and then there's 20 pre-test questions that aren't graded. They're just kind of in there to see how they do before they graduate as an actual operational question.
Yeah.
So we see kind of how candidates react to those questions. And one of the main purposes, I got in as more of a younger member of the committee because they want to make sure that entry level professionals can pass the national board exam. I
Sure.
mean, it's directed towards those entry level candidates, not towards someone that's been in for 40 years.
Well, that's got to be interesting to do, I would think, especially with all the ever evolving topics, ideas, things that are happening in and around funeral service right now. Not,
Mhm.
I just look at Washington in particular with just even the addition of 2 new disposition
Right.
options. Um, I know they're being taught in school, but
Yep.
how do you come up with these questions, or do you? Are you the one that reviews them, or do you come up with them?
So they have item writing seminars, but where they have educators as well as professionals. Um, so I know Rick Little, who is one of the regulatory board members here in Washington. He's gone to an item writing before
Mhm.
and assisted in writing those, but we kind of review those questions after the item writers, make sure that they can connect to the national board and as well as to the curriculum outline. And then the way they update what can be on the national board is every 5 to 7 years they have what's called a job task analysis committee. And I actually was able to participate in that in 2017. And what they do is they take individuals who are part of the profession from all over the United States, and we sit in a room and we say, okay, what are the tasks that we as funeral directors and embalmers do that need to be tested? And so they do a job task analysis, and then they send out a survey to industry professionals, and we send out a survey and sent links to all the regulatory boards, all the associations, and just kind of threw it out there on Facebook too for the industry professionals to say, yeah, that's an important task for students to learn about. That's not, maybe they don't need to know about
Mhm.
running death certificates to the health department that shouldn't be tested, or thing, things like that. So they try to stay up to date with the profession by having that job task analysis. But because it's a national board, we also have to make sure that people in Washington are being tested on the same thing as people in Florida.
Mhm.
And so we have to kind of make sure we're not looking at individual states' regulations. We have to look at the nation as a whole in funeral service, which can be difficult at times because, I mean, sometimes they use full couches in the East Coast and we use half couch here on the West Coast.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yeah, that could really potentially open some doors up
yeah,
for confusion because of everybody is different. 50 states, 50 different laws.
yeah,
Kind of crazy to have to try to know all that and be able to produce questions that we can test the incoming professionals.
professionals on, yeah. And I mean, they test on entry level material, so it's things that the interns should know from working with their mentors as well as from going to school.
Yeah, good, good. What advice would you have for? I know we've got a school here locally, and I say that, but in Washington, we have a mortuary school. We got one down just south of us too, actually
Yeah,
closer to you than I am to you, but
yeah.
down in Oregon. But what advice would you, as an assistant manager, give, but as well as somebody on the national board examination committee? What advice would you give for young people starting out in this profession or looking to join this profession?
Sure. So what I would say to young students or people just starting in the career is ask a lot of questions to your mentors, and there's no such thing as a stupid question to ask your professors. Um, and then use the resources that you're given. I mean, there are so many resources online now, and the conference, they have a review for the national board exam that they produce in order to help you do well on the national board. And so use that resource as well as the other resources that are available, and just ask questions. I was probably an annoying intern, but I asked a lot of questions to any funeral director that would sit down and listen to me. So I'd be in the prep room and I'd say, how do we use a drain tube? I want to do that. I've read about it in the book, but I've never done it in person.
Sure.
So they're like, okay, we don't normally do that, but I'll show you. So, I mean, if you read about it in the book, ask a professional how you do it, or how that works. So, I mean, just another option is to get involved in, like, Washington State Funeral Directors Association. I think I was a new funeral director when I was put in as a district leader originally, and then later on became part of the board for WSFDA, and just get involved in the profession. We're all in it together, and you'll learn from other professionals all over the country and all over the state.
Yeah. Well, I remember when back when I was on the board and having you come on, and I remember thinking, oh my gosh, I'm not that old, but now I really feel old. Brevin's so young. But what a blessing it was. I mean, it's been exciting to get to know you and to build that friendship with you over the years. I was saddened when you left and had to leave the board because you were leaving the state. But gosh, I was super excited to hear that you were coming back. And I was excited when you said, yeah, let me get on there and I'll talk with you a little bit. So thanks for coming on and being a part of this. And thank you for doing what you're doing to help new students, or not even students, but new people in the profession get past that next hurdle of the national exams. I think it's a very marvelous thing that you're doing with it, and I'm excited for you that you are doing that and working hard with them. Brevin, if we could, if somebody wanted to reach out to you and ask a question, do you have an email you can share with me that they can send a question to or so to you?
Sure. So Brevin at Mueller's Funeral Homes with an S.com, and that's so Brevin is Brevin and Mueller's is Muellers, funeralhomes.com.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And one more question, more on a personal note. How's McCall liking being back in the state?
She's loving it. She loves being here in Tri-Cities. So
yeah, awesome. Well, again, thanks for coming out. Welcome back. We're glad you're back. I know Mueller's is glad you're back. So thanks for coming on and talking with us.
Hey, thank you so much, Rob, for having me on. It's a pleasure working with you, and thank you for doing these members talks. It's great.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, they're a lot of fun. It's fun to get to meet people and get a little one-on-one, even though we can't do it live. Technology is such that we can do it this way.
It's amazing.
All right. Till next time, everybody. Thanks for watching.